Hello there, and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing, so far, the last movie in the Halloween franchise, Halloween 2018. And up until next year when Halloween Kills come out, which was supposed to come out a few days from now, we will know what happens after this, but until then, this was marketed to be the final confrontation between Michael Myers and Laurie Strode, where they wipe the timeline and they pick up directly 40 years later from the very first movie and the very first incident from the night of 1978 in Illinois of Haddonfield, Halloween, where Jamie Lee Curtis was attacked. This was the first Halloween movie and the only Halloween movie I've ever gotten to see in theaters, so I have a really personal connection with it. It is also just hands down one of the better and well-made sequels in Halloween movies, and a lot of people didn't like it, a lot of people love it, and people definitely have their opinions on this one. And with all of that being said, let's get right into Halloween 2018. So I love the concept of this. I love the whole trauma aspect and seeing a woman 40 years later. I love that there's not the mess of all of the other continuity. What was great about the first one was that it ended on that cliffhanger, eerie note, and I loved seeing Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode, and so young and beautiful, and you know, what happened to her after all of those years, we always wanted to know. And so seeing her as a full-grown woman and where she would be with her relationship to her spouses, daughter, and granddaughter all really makes for a compelling story because of how relevant it is and of how serious, and they correct the tone of the franchise and they bring it back down to the simple random guy escaping on Halloween night and killing a bunch of babysitters, and it's terrifying and I love it. The opening scene is really interesting and it's a good kind of like fill-in recap of kind of what's been going on, but recap of the first movie. I love the opening credits because I remember being in the theater and just hearing the score come on and then the giant pumpkin arise on the screen. Everybody clapped. It was so awesome, and it's the reverse of the original movie credits. Michael Myers in this movie is such a badass, and then everyone thought about like, oh, you know, how could such an old man, you know, handle all of this? But as soon as this movie came on, I mean, they put that to bed. You see him killing kids, killing pretty much anyone who's in his way. He is relentless. He's not detoured by anyone or anything. I mean, when he's set out to do something or get something, that's what he will do or get. They did such a good storyline with Laurie Strode about who she is and what this woman is and what her house would be like, and I like that it's very together and kind of woodsy and like a cabin, and she's got a lot of guns and knives, and she's prepared, she's hard. I know a lot of people who have lived a life like this. I personally grew up in a house that looked a lot like this one in the finale of this, where Laurie lives. My dad was from the war. He has a lot of PTSD and lived like that and very prepared and on edge and ready for the world. It's unfortunate that this is where she ended up, that she was just a woman who had been assaulted by a guy and didn't get the help that she needed, and it's really very sad. And I like that she has a connection with her granddaughter, at least every time in my life that I've ever been in moments like that with my family. Still to this day, you know, I have more relationship with my grandparents than I do my parents, and I think that that's that generational thing that they do really well in this movie, and that's an aspect that I really cared about and liked and could relate to with this. I really love Judy Greer, and so seeing her in this movie is also really, really fun for me. She plays a very good, like, worried mother role, and she also just does a very good job at playing Laurie's daughter. You know, we've had that in Halloween 4 where she has a daughter, and then Halloween H2O where she has a son, and I just kind of like that I like the route that they went with her children and her family lineage in this movie, giving Karen her own backstory and her own viewpoint on her mother, because two things can be true at once, because while she does have that resentment towards her mom, whenever the final act goes down, she does understand and can step into her mother's shoes a little bit more, and I'm sure she's a lot more forgiving and understanding. I'm sure there's a lot of things that she had let go of and probably wants to apologize for in Halloween Kills now that she's had to step up and kind of save her daughter. I love that Laurie knows that Michael Myers is coming back for her. Some of the best parts about this movie are the chase scenes and the walking through the streets. They do a really good atmosphere in this one. I love how it looks like fall time, and just like the auburn, brown, orangey red aesthetic and the fall leaves and the trees, and One of the best scenes is where he's walking through the streets just killing everyone in that same one long shot, and it was perfect. I just love the vibe of everything he's got going on in this movie, especially with that mask. How can you not appreciate the mask? It is so creepy, it is perfectly aged and weathered, one of the best masks since the original. Sometimes I prefer this one better, and it, like I said, just goes with the entire vibe that Michael has going on. In that, he gets his iconic knife by walking into a house and just picking it up after killing someone, and that is a nod to one of the other Halloween sequels. Another nod is whenever he kills the reporters in the bathroom and actually gets his mask. That was a nod to Halloween H2O. There's a lot of fun things like that sprinkled throughout the film that I happen to really appreciate and enjoy. When it comes to Allison's boyfriend and his friend, they're the characters that get on my nerves the most. I don't really like any of the scenes that they're in. However, it doesn't take away from the movie too much for me. I understand that there are things that are going to go on that aren't going to be fun with this movie for the characters to go through. But yeah, sometimes those annoying people really just get annoying to me. I prefer the scenes where we're with her blonde friend and her boyfriend, who are the babysitters. Though they're fun. They kind of remind me of like the original Halloween, where it's supposed to be like some friends like going to babysit and, you know, smoke a little bit of weed and hang out with their whatevers. And Michael Myers stumbles upon them and everything goes horribly wrong. The boyfriend and the friend to me just kind of seem like they're not useless, but I kind of want to say useless because it's like I don't know, they could have just writ her boyfriend any other different way, or they could have made him an asshole a different way. Maybe it was just the combination of like the delivery of the lines with the lines that were written and the actors that were involved. Maybe if they had cast a different boyfriend and best friend, I would have liked the chemistry better. But I'm in favor about how obviously Allison leaves Cameron at the dance. I hope that she doesn't go back to him in the next chapter. But then as she's walking home, we get another one of the most iconic scenes in this movie, I think, is when she's walking home and her friend Oscar gets killed. He had been trying to hit on her, and then my favorite personal score in the movie comes up, and it's called The Shape Hunts Allison, and it's that like dun, like that, like we all know the like alarm sound that like happens in the song, and the little score in the background of the iconic Halloween theme is also perfect to make for a terrifying scene. Having her run down the street that her grandmother once ran down 40 years ago, screaming for help, and knowing the trauma that she had gone through and feeling it for herself, and actually having someone, you know, be murdered in front of her is quite terrifying. The whole plot line with Dr. Sartain trying to be the new Loomis and interacting with the patients, I thought was pretty good up until the part whenever he went all psycho. Now that one was really surprising for me, and I wasn't expecting it in the theaters. And while it doesn't bother me now, I could have done without it, but I'm not opposed to it either. I understand why he felt that way, but it kind of just felt so random, and I really appreciate the fact that they try to do something different, and that, you know, for a second I thought that he was going to be Michael for the rest of the film. I'm glad he wasn't, and I'm glad Michael, you know, wakes up and kills the shit out of him and stomps his face in. I love the finale of this movie. I love whenever Laurie and Karen get together and they're having their reconciling moments where they're just trying to figure out where Allison is and try to survive the night, and there's so many emotions that are running through their heads and so many things that are going on. And I love how it shows that even though they've got this rocky relationship through the whole movie, and at the core of it all, they still know that like whenever something goes down, when they are in danger, they still lean on each other. Karen knows that her mom will protect her. She's not as naive as she once was. Not that she was like purposely naive, but she was like, she had to do extra work in trying to see what the world is like, you know, for a person who doesn't typically go through Laurie's traumas. And then on the other hand, it's like Laurie was just trying to do the best that she could because her life had went that way. How is she supposed to know that life doesn't go that way, you know? So they both have their rights and they both have their wrongs, and I like how they can kind of just come into the middle, because this one night, I know it's sad, and I'm really sad that all of the people are dead, but at least I think it was a good thing. I'm glad that that night happened to bring them together like that, because had it not, then this whole trauma would have just ruined Laurie's life and her relationship with her everyone in her family. And I always love that moment of whenever someone's saying or doing something or believes something and no one really thinks that it's true or believes what's going on or happening. In that moment when they get proven right, I really love that, because it's like, good for them, they deserve it, they deserve that recognition, and then the fact that they were literally only just trying to keep everybody's best interests in mind. That's obviously who Laurie is in this movie, and I really appreciate how much of a badass she is, how strong she is. She takes a beating, but she's also on her game. She is alert, she is alarmed, she is calm, but she is vulnerable, like in the interviewing at the beginning. I like how she's trying to get him at the end, and all of the callbacks to the original where they're like tussling and fighting in the bedroom, and she gets stabbed and goes over the balcony, and then he looks and then she's gone. I love how Allison comes running home and has to go into the basement with her mom, and then now Karen has played both roles where she's needed to be protected by her mom, and then her daughter was there, and that instinct kicks in and she steps up and she remembers her training and she realizes, you know, what my mom did for me, that it was for this moment. So like, rather to have it and then to not need it than to need it and not have it. But at least now she knows how to face up against Michael Myers, and she's good at protecting herself. I love that fake out moment. And then they whoop his ass and kick him down into the cellar, and I love how Allison grabs the knife and contributes, and they all stand above him, and there's that moment and that shot of just like the clarification of like, have they bested him? And I really thought that they did at the end of this, believing that that was the story, the final confrontation before the announcement of Halloween Kills. And when I look at it as an own installment, I still love it. I still buy it as its own perfect story. It still works for me that way if there was never another one after this. Seeing the house go up in flames, everything was so... just the shots of the flames in the house are pretty and sad and emotional, and it's just all of the things that are happening and the relief that Laurie must be feeling, but she's still dying because of the stab wound, and she still has her family at least. You know, the first time that I ever watched this movie, I thought about, oh, it's so sad that her house is gone, all of her things are gone, everything that she's lived in. But then these most recent couple times that I have been watching it, seeing those shots, it, like I said, is a relief. All of those walls burning, her house burning, everything catching on fire, her personal items. Think about everything she endured and everything she went through that house, and all of the sadness and all of the things that she taught Karen, and all of the things that she never got to have, and when Karen was taken away. You know, there's a lot of trauma and sadness and agoraphobia and fear and preparation and PTSD and so many emotions and feelings in this place and in this house, that's why she set it up that way, is because when Mike comes back and she burns him and burns the thing down, it's like she's setting herself free. She doesn't have to be here anymore. She's letting all those memories go. It's a good thing. I used to think that it was kind of sad that her house burns down. She sacrificed that, but it's like, it's freeing if you really think about it. Everything that she went through that house it's kind of like a symbol of that, you know, with all of that gone and being burned to ashes, you know, maybe she can arise from that and let it all go and move on and have a real connection with her family now. And then it has that nice ending, and it's perfectly eerie and it's perfectly good. It perfectly wraps up. I love the shot of the knife, and Annie Matichak is beautiful, and she's got that look in her eye. And now that we know that it's a part 1 of 3, it works as a perfect cliffhanger ending, and I'm so excited to see what they do with Halloween Kills. The 30-second trailer that they released is awesome, and I'm super excited for just this whole new era. Well, yeah, that was my review of Halloween 2018. It is definitely one of the best sequels, one of my favorite movies. I can't wait to get into the rankings. This is such a special franchise to me. I've been with it for several years now, and I love showing it to people. So yeah, let me know what works for you in this movie or what doesn't, what your favorite parts are. Are you excited for the next chapters? This is my Halloween 2018 DVD, just the Blu-ray combo pack, and I love the artwork on it, and you know, pretty cool. Nothing special, but obviously something very important to have. Be sure to stick around and check out some of my other videos. I've done a bunch of different genres, and I plan to do a bunch more. I've done some location visits. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, and be sure to check back. Happy Halloween!